Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video in which we will go through using the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations. So the formula is quite complicated. Let's get to it. So on your screen in black is the quadratic formula. So note it uses a lot of A's, B's, and C's. So A is the number in front of x squared in the equation, B the number in front of x, and C the constant term. So the quadratic formula is in terms of the coefficients. So this formula is complicated, but notice this thing here means plus or minus. So this sometimes leads to two solutions. There are actually two solutions. The first one is minus b plus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a, and the second solution is minus b minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So in case you're wondering how this formula can come about, it's actually pretty easy to prove. You can just solve this general equation by completing the square and you end up with this formula here. So we have a square root thing here, and remember we've seen that sometimes when you square root a number there are two solutions. For example, like the square root of 4 we can write as plus or minus 2. Two solutions. If you square root 0, there's only one solution, and if you try and square root a negative like negative 4, you can't do it. There are no solutions. So the number of solutions is totally determined by what is under the square root. So we call that the discriminant, and it's for whatever reason marked as a triangle. So the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. It's what's under the square root of the formula. So if this discriminant is greater than 0, if it's positive like 4, that means there are two solutions to the quadratic. If the discriminant is equal 0, because when you square root 0 there's only one solution, that means the whole thing will only have one solution. But if the discriminant is less than 0, that means there are no solutions. So why am I telling you this? We don't want to go through the whole process of looking through the formula if there aren't any solutions. So always try the discriminant first to see how many solutions there are, because you might end up saving yourself some work. So let's go ahead and look at a few examples, and hopefully that will make the formula clearer. So let's first look at solving the equation x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 0. So I just wanted to show you an easy one first. This is easy because you could actually factorize it really simply. It would just be x plus 2 squared is 0, so x is minus 2. Let's confirm that we get the same answer from the quadratic formula. So for this equation here, the number in front of x squared is 1. This is monic. The number in front of x is 4. And the constant term is also 4. So before using the quadratic formula, let's check how many solutions. So the discriminant is b squared minus 4 times a times c. 16 minus 16 is 0. So discriminant equals 0. There should be one solution. Let's now use the quadratic formula to confirm that that one solution is minus 2. So we have x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of the discriminant. Now we already found the discriminant was 0, so I can put it in there, over 2 times a. So of course, square root of 0 is 0, so the only solution here is minus 4 over 2 times 1, which is minus 2. Confirming the solution we got up there. So let's look now at another example. So let's have a look at this quadratic equation here. So all of the methods that we've used to solve quadratics involve having one side of the equation equal to 0. So if one side's not equal to 0, you must first make it equal to 0. So here we subtract 2 from both sides to get this, and we have a quadratic equation where one side's equal to 0. So we could try to factorize this using the methods for non-monic quadratics. Our efforts would be in vain. We could use completing the square, but this would likely get very, very messy very quickly. it's easiest here to use the quadratic formula. So here a is the coefficient of x squared, b the coefficient of x, and c the constant term. So as I said previously, what we're going to do is first find the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, because that will tell us if there are any solutions. So, of course, we substitute b for -7. Make sure that you're putting brackets around it, because you want to times -7 by itself. And then we change a and c to 3 and -2, respectively. So if you want to use your calculator, that's fine. We get the discriminant here is 73. So that's positive. That means there are 2 solutions. Now, because 73 is not a perfect square, we're going to actually have 2 irrational solutions. That's where the quadratic formula is very useful. So what will those solutions be? So x will be minus b plus or minus the square root. Now, the discriminant we already calculated, so it's root 73 over 2 times a. So the 2 solutions are positive 7 plus root 73 over 6, positive 7 minus root 73 over 6. So it's fine for you to leave your answers like that. That's all right. If you want to round them, that's okay too. So our 2 solutions are about 2.59 and minus 0.26. Numbers we definitely couldn't have come up with on the top of our head. All right, let's do one more example. Please pause and copy this down if you need. So let's try this equation here. 6x squared minus 10x plus 5 equals 0. Once again, it's a non-monic. We can't take out a common factor. We could try factorizing it, but that'll take forever. It's easiest to use the quadratic formula. So here a is 6, b is the number in front of x, so minus 10, and c the constant term of 5. So before using the quadratic formula, let's check the discriminant. So that is b squared minus 4 times a times c. So you actually get 100 minus 120, which is obviously negative 20. So because the discriminant is less than 0, there are no solutions. I don't need to go through the whole process of using the quadratic formula. This one here has no solutions, because if you tried to use the quadratic formula, you'd get 10 plus or minus the square root of minus 20. Can't square root a negative. That's why there are no solutions. All right, thank you so much for tuning into this video. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.